Wrongdoing is the lightest rock. It feels like skipping a stone, like error, the same, like skipping a stone on water. Sin and transgression, the two of them almost sit at an equal. I would put them at parity. They feel almost identical. Transgression and sin. Error and wrongdoing together, with an error or mistake being above the other one, whatever the other one that I was just speaking of just now. So that is how words feel to me. So as this man was speaking, definitely I discerned truth in this man. And this ennui of rich people, when their soul is floating, when it's not just, oh, I'm so bored, I wish something would happen. When your soul is kind of disconnected, when something heinous is suggested to you, because you're not fully connected in your body to your feelings, your thoughts, not even righteousness. You don't have to be saved. Just correct and proper human posture. When someone says to you, why don't we go hunt a girl? Your first, second, third, fifth, and 90th reaction will not be a strong no. It will not be a, what do you mean, hunt a girl? You will say, what's that? You will display interest. The same type of interest if someone said, would you like to go for brunch on the weekend? That type of thing. Ennui is a particularly dangerous position for the soul to be in, because it's like it's floating in a pool of water and it becomes highly suggestible. And when human beings are living like that, too much caviar, too much fat, too much sex, too much non-accountability, no accountability to God, no accountability to parents, no accountability to self. You become so carnal, and in carnality, the devil can prosper greatly. So this man drew the attention of this class of people, and they wanted to draw him into more personalized banking. Rich people have to trust you before they bring you to the basement where they tie people up. And so they brought him into more personalized forms of banking. They made him offers. I don't know if he became a private banker to them, but eventually he was working for them and he wasn't even formally employed anymore. This man confessed with his own mouth that he began to make unbelievably shocking amounts of money. Stunning amounts of money Ronald Bernard began to have. And then he said that he was brought into the world of true power broking. All the power brokers who watch here will probably think, oh yeah, that's my field. That's not your field. Ronald Bernard was now power broking nations. Ronald Bernard is the first person who actually confirmed the testimony of this man called John something. John came out. You can find him because just put in John Confessions of an Economic Hitman, especially if you are Latin American, especially if you are an Asian American, especially if you are an African. You will be very interested to hear the testimony of the man that is known as John. Type in John, semicolon, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and there you will find an American man who used to work for the CIA all his life, and he is confessing full out that all America has done in its life is destabilize countries, corrupt economies, destroy the destinies of nations, impoverish entire nations, systematically rob resources, and basically break continents down to nothing by enforcing policies that they in Washington, D.C., Washington protocols, always knew would bring about the same result. A broken, faltering, sputtering, useless, and eventually dead and dependent economy. Once the economy has been made dead and dependent, America then attaches a pipeline to it called aid, and then begins to tell the people all the time for the rest of their life, you should be very grateful that we're helping you. You should be very grateful that we're helping you. You should be very grateful that we're helping you. But they actually put nations in that position through a staggered series. And the man, John, who calls himself an economic hitman, confessed that he is about the third level. So the first level of breaking is when they come over with the suits and they say, oh no, we're so happy that you guys have gotten your independence. Well done, well done. You finally got independent from Britain. You finally got independent from the Portuguese. Well done. We would like to do business. We would like to do trade. They will always start with business. And then they move to some second level, which is usually wanting to buy equity in The power company, they want to buy equity in this. They want to buy equity in what? It's like a monopoly board. The United States government then wants to buy equity in what? In the powerful resources that an entire nation depends on, like the water companies, the sewer companies, the hospitals. Just imagine if this was a monopoly board, those would be the most important parts. When the leaders of the country say, well, we can do deals with you, like if you want gold, you can buy gold and we'll give you the gold and you give us this and that, or you give us some of this and that. But buying into the water, buying into the power and stuff like that, no. The next thing they'll be doing at the same time as trying to buy equity into major landmark holdings in the country is also get the country on World Bank and IMF policies. It's a must. They will recommend to you that it's the healthiest arc for growth. This is demonic deception from the pits of hell. From the pits of hell. The American government will come in and say, join the IMF. It's the best way for growth. Look at the projections. It's all deceptions. It's all deceptions. When you join the IMF plan after a while and you start to notice that your economy is being destroyed, that your people are being slowly impoverished, that the gains and the yields that you were getting before are not getting, and that you're starting to pay a lot in this so-called interest, some countries attempt to extricate themselves. They attempt to extricate themselves from the World Bank and the IMF. They attempt to extricate themselves from the agreements with American corporations, British corporations, Australian corporations that they would have made. They started to say like, oh, we don't want to do this with Coca-Cola anymore. They're cutting down all our trees for their this. We don't want to do that with that, with Monsanto. We don't want to do that with that mining company anymore. When they try to extricate themselves, this is the third level that John, the man who was confessing, comes in. John would then come in, and John is called an economic hitman. John then comes in as a hardliner to say, you're going to stay in this contract. I've been assigned to you. You're going to stay in the IMF. You're going to stay in the World Bank. You are going to stay in this 100-year contract that you have with Firestone. You're going to stay in it. Unless this is going to happen, that is going to happen, that is going to happen, and that is going to happen. John comes in with hardline threats. John comes in with American bravado. John comes in and flashes a gun and says that there's more of me where this came from. You're going to do this and do that. The majority of nations fall in line. However, there are always the Gaddafis of the world. There are always the leaders who, there's a man in Latin America who America assassinated, a president. He died from cancer, and he literally told everybody as loud as he could that he had been killed by what we now know is called CIA cancer. The CIA has access to extremely deadly poisons and deadly things that can perfectly mimic a heart attack, and all they need to do is scratch you with a pin. They scratch you with a pin. They can just walk past you as you're in the street, in the supermarket, and they will just scratch your neck, and then you will look and think, oh, that was a fly. No, it's not. You will get full-blown cancer from that carcinogen that they scratch you with. The American government has multiple ways to kill. And that man insisted until the day that he died that the Americans had attacked him in some biological means and given him cancer. But he's not the only one that has been assassinated. You have heard on this channel, I cannot remember the name of the prophecy, but I think it might be called the Patriot Act, where the prophecy of the Lord started saying, presidents can die. Presidents do die. And no one knows that better than America, for she has murdered the presidents of many nations. Yah said many nations have gone into the darkness and have gone into a slump of bitterness because America killed the good leader that they had. And so John is a man whose confession matched certain things that Mr. Ronald Bernard, the banker, was saying. And John said that any nation that stands up to a person like him, level 3, the economic hitman. Remember, a hitman is someone who is sent to kill. John is an American branch of the CIA that is sent to kill nations, metaphorically, with the threats of enforcement, to make that all the wayward sheep who are trying to break free of how America controls things. 3 that broke free, 2 are stars, are definitely Japan and Korea. Japan and Korea woke up one day and realized that Westerners will never have your greatest good at heart, because the way that the heart of Esau functions is always to conquer. This is literally the only way that his father, what's this man's name? Isaac. This is the only way that Isaac found to give his son to survive after Jacob stole his blessing. He just told him, by your sword and by the dew of the earth is how you will live. Jacob took the whole blessing. And so the father just said that by your sword you will make a living. And he also said that when you grow big enough, you will throw off the yoke of your brother. And so that is for another time. John confessed that after, I was saying that, it's China, it's Korea, and Japan. The three of them finally realized that if you put your hand in with the West, their entire way is to destroy you. Bear in mind that these are people of proverbs. The Chinese, the Koreans, the Japanese. These are people who every second saying in their culture is a proverb. And so these are very, very deeply wise people. And they realize that there is nothing but destruction by partnering with the West. And so they all went into isolationist policy. All three of these nations, if you look in history, they isolated themselves and they were castigated bitterly by the Western world for it. The Western world mocked them. The Western world laughed at them. The Western world was angry because these nations closed themselves off for a long season, and the Western world had no idea what they were doing in isolation. And then boom, they burst out on the scene with what they had learned the Western world likes: cell phones, TVs, software, games, and then whoosh, to the top, out of the poverty that India, for instance, who's much bigger than two of them, is still struggling with, because she's still shaking hands with Esau. And so the level that comes after Mr. John, the economic hitman, is called the wolves. When you refuse to listen to John, the economic hitman, John says that there's a level after him, and that's called the wolves. These are the guys who pull the balaclavas over their face, and they will come to your nation and start a civil war. They will assassinate your president, giving the start to rumors that the assassins mixed in among the black people were actually white. They will always, as they did to, I think his name was Kabila in the Congo, assassinate you, making it appear to be a homegrown assassination, but it's actually a fully funded USA CIA assassination. The Lord told me to be candid. So while we are going to stay on topic, anything that is relevant to it, I'm going to put in these prophecies. I'm going to do the very best job that I can for the Lord. And if you still come here and start to lie and say that there's another channel that sounds just like me, you and I both know that you are a liar. So, after John comes wolves. The wolves destabilize governments. The wolves kill presidents. The wolves blow up presidential cars. And then the newspaper carries the story: local rebel group kills president. It's not the local rebel group unless, of course, the CIA's other name is local rebel group. It's the activity of America around the world. This man, Ronald Bernard, was an economic hitman. He was not a wolf. Ronald Bernard said in his testimony that he had gone into multiple Latin American countries at the request of the super rich child-eating class. And he and a few other men had basically done things that had caused countries to tumble into poverty that they're still dealing with to this day. He said you would go in and you would do a few things, you would rig a few things, and then he said that you would wake up the next morning and you would see that nation literally on the news for a currency crash. And he said, as a person who was just used to doing ordinary banking, it was an incredible rush. And of course it would be a rush because he's a man. Mankind, men in particular, have no problem with things that go boom, even if they're terrible and they cause grandmothers to cry and mothers to starve and children to die because there's no bread. Men are fascinated with the boom, and they are drunk, and they easily can be controlled by proximity to power and by actually handling power themselves. Therein is the ongoing corruption of Adam. And so this man became drunk in this life. Women were provided, cars were provided, money was provided, everything was provided, because the one thing that the rich people don't skimp on is offering you the toys of Satan. They will not skimp on the caviar. They will not skimp on the salmon out of the Norwegian seas. They will not skimp on the preference of a young girl or a young boy, whatever it is. This man did not lack for women. And then he said that in the midst of mixing with these people for a while, he was so trusted that he was invited to a different type of party. This is the party that I just recently described in the prophecy, The Voices Under the Ground, where I was talking about the South African child sex rape parties with the pink powder that I saw just puffing everywhere like a music video. These parties are held all over the world. They can be sex orgies, but for the most part, it's children who are the main offering. The worst parties, however, are the parties where they kill and eat children. And so Ronald Bernard went to many parties where he said he saw the people dress up. He said that he saw that they loved to dress up and do masquerade and hide their identities. And he said that in some cases, attendants were naked. And this man said that all he would do was sit in the corner, drink his liquor, and laugh. He said that he found these people funny. And most people who don't understand what I'm talking about would find this unbelievable, incredible. Finding something incredible doesn't always mean you find it good. Credibility means believable. Therefore, saying that something is incredible means you find it hard to believe. He found the people incredible because he said there was one theme that he picked up once they started inviting him to the debauchery parties, where he said that they would often run around naked, catching a woman and sleeping with her, catching a man and sleeping with him. And he's invited to a place like this, and he's okay to be there because they're giving him $250,000 per Latin American country that he destroys and sends spiraling into gross poverty and economic panic, like Venezuela. He said there was a theme that he picked up very easily, and that it was these people strongly believed in Satan. He said it was unmistakable. They held entire masses to honor Satan before the party could kick off. They lifted up prayers to Satan. They praised Satan and venerated Satan and thanked Satan for being there at the event. All the while, Ronald Bernard would sit at his table and laugh and drink his expensive liquor and be with whatever 93 girlfriends he would be in, or sometimes he was just alone. He said it occurred to him that rich people are crazy, for Ronald Bernard was an atheist. He didn't believe in God. He didn't have any use for God. He believed in his own gifts and his own skills and his own talents. And so what does God have to do with the fact that I worked hard, I fell in with the right crowd, and now I make more money than one man could possibly spend in a lifetime? God doesn't fit into an equation like that. That's how a lot of men think. He watched them and he assumed that they were crazy. He confessed in his testimony that he thought that they were crazy because who would believe in a fictional being like Satan that hard? He said it was clear that they took it seriously. They took it so seriously that sometimes when he was seated and mocking, he would be warned, do not mock the Lord. Anyway, he got invited to a different type of party. He served and he served and he served so well that they assumed that his hard service meant that somehow his heart had become as debauched as theirs. And so they invited Mr. Bernard to the different type of party. The party that starts off with the Hail Satan, praise Satan, thank you Satan. And then moved on to the usual debauchery, the nakedness, the drinking, the wine. And then he was asked to come forward. And they told him, we want you to participate today. And then they brought a child. And they asked Mr. Bernard to kill the child, to sodomize the child, and then kill the child after. And at this is how you know that no matter how fallen a person is, sometimes God has a seed inside that person. At this request, Mr. Bernard began to shake and weep, because nobody at the party knew that hardened Ronald Bernard had spent the earlier years of his life being sexually abused and beaten. I don't know if it was by his own family members, or if this young man, this child, had grown up in a home and then fought his way to the top of the Dutch banking ranks as a way to make something of himself and overcome the painful, painful past that he sprang from. Either way, Ronald Bernard, confronted with a shaking, quivering little boy being told, sleep with him and kill him so we can know you're really one of us. They obviously wanted to bump him up to the next level. That's what they do when they see talent. That's what they do when they see gifting. That's what they do when they see ability. So the next time they come to you in Africa and tell you that it's just one small use of your backside and then you can be president of the whole bank, you better go and stand on top of the church and start naming their names as a way to save and protect yourself. You better embarrass them to the entire town so that they will never come near you again if you want to stay safe. Those of you who lay down because you are offered sodomy for handbags, for shoes, for trips overseas, male and female, you don't mind if someone desecrates your backside, destroys your sanctity before God, because that part of your body was never meant to be engaged in sexual activity. You've done it in your past. Up to now, it's August 2025. You never opened your mouth yet, gotten down on your knees to start crying to God. I lost my mind momentarily. Jesus, please, 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 Jesus, don't lock me out of your eternal kingdom for the act of sodomy, for which the punishment in the Bible prescribed is death. You're walking around free. Miss Avant-Garde. I like to mix it up. I'm a little bit different. You will roast in Tartarus unless you confess your sin to God. When Ronald Bernard was confronted with this child, he froze up. He locked up. He who thought himself a rock, Jesus Christ, cracked him like a small piece of glass. He started shaking and crying in front of the people. They realized, oh no, he has a flaw. He has a weakness. Oh no. That's the way they look at you, with pity. Oh no. He still has feelings. He hasn't surrendered himself to the blissful power of Ennui. Ennui. He was cast off from their midst. They'd made a mistake. They got the wrong guy. Don't talk. We'll kill you. He began to slide down the rankings, no longer invited, because how can you actually stand at the edge of Satan's birthday bash? Look at the greatest offering, a little boy about to meet his maker. The fact that Ronald Bernard didn't touch that child doesn't mean that that child left that gathering, in case you were hoping. When they let you see and you say no, you become an enemy. He began to become intensely monitored, threats all the time. That man doesn't have a cent right now, except whatever he's earning as an honest living. He tells his story, but he never names any names. I am not Ronald Bernard. The two names that the Lord gave me in church when I was sobbing and weeping before him are the names of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who regularly consume children. It's their favorite food. It's their preferred meat. Ronald Bernard pushed his story, pushed his testimony, and got it all the way to the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, ITNJ. He sat for hours and hours and hours giving testimony that I wasn't really able to sit through. It was painful to watch a once powerful man broken like that, shaking like that, holding back tears like that. But that's the way God saved him. To my estimation, he's not a full Christian, but he now does know that evil never exists where there is no God. The prophecy that you are listening to is called the Whitehouse basement, and I will now begin to go through the words that my God gave me on August the 17th, 2025. When you come to this blog, do not trouble me when I'm doing the Lord's work. Do not trouble me. It's a video. If you have any questions, rewind it and listen again. If you have any doubts, that's your problem. Work it out at your house. I assume you have a prayer closet. If you're a Christian, go to the prayer closet and ask the Lord like a Berean, Father, what say you about the things that I've heard? Don't come here disrespecting me. Don't come here shooting your shot and making noise at me. I have no tolerance left for that. The Lord says that children are taken to the White House and they never come out again. These are the children who are not shipped from house to house, apartment to apartment, condo to condo, hotel to hotel in Washington, D.C. There's a steady trade of that. Favorite children who are always requested at the parties. And why is that? Because these children have been trained over time to become extremely pleasing sex slaves. In fact, the older they grow, these boys and girls who have a powerful survival instinct in them, that they don't want to die, they still have hope for their life. They're still holding some little candle flame, that one day they will forget to lock the back of the truck. One day the guard will fall asleep, and that will be my day. They want to live despite all, these children. So as a survival tactic, they simply get good at doing whatever the adults want, whatever the adults request, and they become favorite children. Then they're not treated so bad. I told you that these are the children who occasionally will be given a chocolate. They will taste a chocolate. On their birthday, they might not have to work. No 17 clients that day. You get a day off. Children are rotated all through Washington, D.C., all through the United States, all through the world. The wealthy, the rich, and the powerful, they have their favorite child. And so when it's noticed that the Speaker of the House or the Majority Whip likes a certain kid, that kid will get treated a little bit better. That kid will have a slightly longer shelf life. But there are children who just serve as the menu. That's the title of that crazy movie. The Menu. The Menu. The movie is called The Menu, and it's not the only one. Thank you, Lord. They are taken down to the basement, and there they are tortured. They cut these children all over just to watch the blood run, just to hear them cry and wail and scream, just for them to release that hormone. I don't know if it's a toxin. I don't know if it's a hormone. I just know it's the thing that you release when you're tired. Adrenaline. When you're scared, the thing that when you see the boogeyman, you just want to run. The thing that when your friend jumps out and does a prank on you, then your blood pressure goes from 0 to 1,000. They want it to pump into the children's bloodstream. And there's a prophecy I brought here. I think it is called The Voices Under the Ground, where I spoke about how God showed me in the giving of that prophecy. That would be in, perhaps it's 2023. If not, it's 2024. But God showed me how before they kill the children, a creature comes. An actual creature comes. And now in this prophecy, God is saying that some of them actually transform their body, which means that they are the creature. They are the creature. He didn't tell me who's a creature, but looking at some of them, some of these people, when they're making speeches, I look at them and my entire self is fixated on their mouth. And I'm like, that man has eaten children. And I can be free with my thoughts here. One of them is Mr. McConnell and the other one is Mr. Schumer. There's something about the mouth that telegraphs to me that that mouth knows more than steak tartare. When you eat people, you just look different to spiritual people. You don't look okay. The Lord showed me in that prophecy, the Voices Under the Ground, part 1, that a creature comes. The creature comes and stands over the children. And then the creature grows and grows and grows. It grows wider, but mostly it just grows upward. To small little people who we already look like multi-story buildings to little ones down there. What I saw is these kids can pee themselves. That's fine. The elites don't mind eating anything with pee on it. They regularly pee into each other's mouths. They pee into the mouths of the people that they're initiating. If Mr. Ronald Bernard had taken the offer, he was going to have to drink some pee and eat some poop. Christina Aguilera has eaten it. Justin Timberlake has eaten it. The Hunger Games girl, Jennifer, what's her face right now? She's had it. Beyonce's had it. They've all had it. You're not going to get the trillion dollar signing without having it. Some of them have had it, and in their souls, they've just decided, you know what? If I have to have a baby a year until I die, I'm not going back to the ritual. I'm sure those of you know who your favorite Bayesian beauty is that doesn't want to go back to the way that they used to abuse and sodomize her until she used to have sunken eyes in her video. If she wants to get out, she should turn to the Lord. The Lord already told me that he's the only one who can get you out and you can still be alive. And he even told me that some of them, they're going to turn to me in the end times, but they're not going to make it out alive. They're just going to make it out saved, but not alive. These celebrities are keeping human skin at their house. Lil Wayne is one that I've dreamt having human skin in thin little parchments at the house. And I was like, I don't want to be in this dream anymore. I do not, Lord, want to be in this dream. And there was a woman in the house. I was in that house, living in the house, working in the house. Found this stack of parchments. You might as well know my dreams. Why am I keeping them in the tablet? Found this stack of parchments. Thought, why is this thing like paper, but so crispy? Why is it so crispy and dried? Because it's people's skins. And there was a black lady in the house who used to follow me everywhere. And I was wondering, is this woman trying to be a part of the entourage? Because for some reason, I was a part of the entourage. And then one day I was standing in the hall and this lady came to me and I was prepared for her to be confrontational because she just seemed to have that air. And she said to me, I'm with the FBI. And I was shocked. And she said, you shouldn't be here today because today is the day we're going to do the raid. Today is the day we're going to do the bust. You shouldn't be here. Make sure you're not here. Because today is the day I call it in. That lady knew all about the flesh rituals, the so-called freak-offs, as we now know that they are called. The fact that in Hollywood, human skin is a prized possession. It's starting to leak out into the mainstream now, the human skin bag. And what they will say is, oh, it's skin-like. But then when a bag is like $300,000, is it really skin-like or is it just skin? I'm going to say everything. You black women, you cannot stay home for some reason. You cannot employ wisdom in who you spend time with, in what kind of circles you pursue. And this is you all over the world. I'm speaking to you as one who is just like you. As you can see, I'm not mauve or green. If you don't know that they will take every single part of you, your eggs, especially your blood, your private parts, peel you like a grape to process the melanin in your skin. You particularly, even your period blood, they want it. I think that man, the millionaire that is starting to have problems now, Peter Sarsgaard, I've spoken about the video that he has on the internet where he's sitting with a bunch of black beauties ranging from my tone all the way to the rich, dark, with a friend of his, telling them how valuable one of their unharvested eggs are, because that egg contains the DNA to make melanin. The egg contains the code that makes the baby brown. So does dad's sperm. But also that the blood that comes out of us is particularly nutritious and rich. I'm not stopping because of the background noise. Just consider it ambient noise. I saw something on TikTok that really stopped me. I used to question seriously why God sent me to TikTok, but it's been 2 years now, I know. I saw a young woman who works as a nail tech. And she was doing an unboxing video. It came on my timeline and I don't know why I stopped. I don't do nails. But she was doing an unboxing video and she was very excited. And she said, you know, when you're a nail tech and you're just getting started out, you don't want to make mistakes on a customer's hand. Because even though you just graduated and everything, she said it's just somehow different in the real world. When you're doing a customer's nails, this is not like beauty school. And so you want to make sure that you always keep your game up. You want to make sure that you're always good at what you're doing. And so she was like, I got practice hands. I got practice hands and my practice hands are finally here. And I'm thinking, okay, practice hands. And then she opens it and she takes out a dead human being's hand. As the kids say, no cap. She takes out hands that instantly, as I see them, tears come bursting out of my eyes. My soul was grieving before my brain could catch up to why are we sad. The spirit knows. She took out the beautiful dark hands of someone who was killed and the hands stuffed and then carefully dipped in resin. After white nails, the Diddy nails, were applied to the nails of the corpse. It was a person's hand. It was a human being's hand. I don't need anyone to come and say, is this not hyperbole? Sesame Street is that way. Sesame Street is that way. Here is where the 14-year-olds will lock in before you end up in a 37-year-old man's basement until you die. And I'll let you know that if that man is smart, he will destroy you in such a way that you will grow up and have your 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20th birthday in the basement. Do you know how I know it's possible? Because just a few days after I have posted the prophecy called The Voices Under the Ground Part 2, for some reason, basements keep opening up in America. In Middle America, they just caught another group of children coming up from where? Coming up from the house basement. That man can keep you there. Even as a 26-year-old woman, he can keep you in that basement for years. No one will ever know. That's because the basement was proofed before you came. The basement was proofed before you came. It's soundproof. It's leak proof. There'll never be a pipe that bursts there that he has to call maintenance to enter the house. Because that's what you're hoping. Because that's what they show in the TV. That if you break the pipes, he'll never leave you untied there. The old subscribers know that I said that moving to New York was one of the most stressful times of life, because from the moment I hit this city, I started seeing death, dreaming death, just murder, murder, murder every night, murder, 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 not just New York murder, murder all over the place, just seeing people slashed, people shot, people stabbed, people kept in the basement. What did I say about the woman who was kept in the basement and the man would come and rape her all night and then go up round about the middle of the night to shower and sleep, and then he went to the office. This man used to wear cheerful yellow shirts to work with a different color tie, and be friendly to everybody. You would never point to that man in an office and say, that man looks like there is a woman in his basement. And the way God gave me the dream is I would simply dream and see light fall on a pair of terrified eyes, and that would be the whole dream. Like some kind of nightly increased widening the storyline movie. That's God. It's definitely not imagination here. I don't watch scary movies. I don't watch murder movies. I'm not a Squid Game girly. Scared eyes. Then the next time you see the dream, scared eyes. The door opens at the top of the stairs. Somebody starts walking down. Dream over. Next time you see the dream, scared eyes. The door opens. The man walks all the way down. The girl is stark naked in the basement. The man is smart. Where are you going to run? When you get outside, where are you going to run with no clothes? Even as I ask that, is it not this same America that a woman burst out of a house in the neighborhood and was running down the street stark naked, only to find that a man had been holding her hostage in that house for nearly a month, in a room with just a dirty mattress, raping her to his heart's content, getting dressed in that abandoned house, getting dressed, going to work and coming back to that abandoned house to continue his festivities for a month. For a month. Until she finally got free. Ran to the first black guy that she saw on the street, and the man just covered her, and that's how the story came out. These are real stories. This is real America. Nothing is made up, and I don't need to look at the news. Murder, 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 murder. Until I had to say, Lord, I beg you, please. Then he stopped showing me how much blood America creates to drink. Mannequin hands. Somewhere, somebody's black daughter has no hands. And she's not the only one, because if mannequin hands can be ordered, then that means that there's a steady Balenciaga-ish stream of hands, which means that somebody needs to go missing from Target. Somebody needs to drink too much at the frat party. Because genuine, and this is her, it's so realistic, you know, it feels just like skin, which means that it will probably respond well to the acetone. The comment section, those are real hands. Oh my God, those are real hands. The comment section, only one person, one or two people going, you guys are overreacting. The entire comment section, like my poor burdened spirit, I burst into tears of sorrow and rage to see that I have lived long enough to be able to observe through this cell phone that I'm pointing at the body parts of an actual human being sold somewhere. And on that website, if you're being savvy, I bet you that there's practice feet, because women don't just do manicures, do they? Women do pedicures as well. 2 live persons' hands. Just like that young man, there's 4 of them. A Hispanic girl, an Asian girl, the black boy who is the well-known one, and the white boy that Balenciaga has. Stuffed people. And then America will say, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. Because you don't know flesh. You don't know the singularity of these eyelashes that God made, that as much as the chicken feathers women keep sticking on their faces, it will never match a real eyelash. You look at the fake eyelashes, everyone goes, it's so lifelike, we can see that it's not a real eyelash. The suppleness of skin, the way that teeth are, the peculiarities of the knuckle swirls. Somebody's son was standing in the full display of Paris, stuffed, standing there, forever frozen in the thing that God calls resin. They will stuff you and dip you in resin and boldly put you on the front page of a magazine and then say, the next level for mannequins. We've cracked the code. Lifelike. And then you will buy that Cosmo magazine and take someone's immortalized son, immortalized in the wrong way, packed with stuffing, and then dipped in resin to forever hold his form, to not rot. And that resin is a perfected job. It has to go into the nostrils and into the ears and into every orifice, has to coat the eyes. You know why? Because the cadaver will smell. Resin will make sure that that thing will never decompose and never smell. Who's still lining up to get a visa? Who's still rushing to apply to grave robber Harvard? Dog sleeping Penn State? You're still in a hurry to take your vacation here so your baby can go missing at Disney World. Then you start making noise like nobody told you. God said he would lift up the skirts of America. The Lord told me to prophesy. The Lord loosened my mouth. The Lord told me certain things that have resulted in this new version of Celestial on the Master's Voice. And so, if you haven't passed out yet, children go down to the basement and are tortured and eaten by the people who sit in power in the nation of America. I was saying that they transform their bodies so they can shapeshift. They can shapeshift. They can change into something else. The creature came and stood over the children. God was showing me. He was showing me. The creature came and just hulked up over the children, just growing taller, taller, taller. And the children's bodies, God was showing me, their bodies just went whoosh and just dumped something like a stream of a chemical into their brain, into their bodies. Let's just say it's green, right? A green chemical whoosh, just flushed all through them. And when it gets into them like that, then that's how they're going to eat the children. Exactly. Some people marinate meat in barbecue mix before they eat it. That thing pumps into the children, and then the children are best to eat. Their meat will taste like that green chemical. There is video on the internet that most people find funny and quirky. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's quirky. Queen Elizabeth, when she was living, was holding court. People had come to pay their respects. You know how it is. Everybody's coming. A little boy was brought. A little boy was brought. Everyone's standing. Everybody can't wait until their moment to shake the queen's hand. And then when the queen comes up, the child takes one look at her and flees. As in, he presses his body back. He presses his body back, and they're still trying to push him to say, little one, shake her hand. The child is so terrified that at some point he gets down on his hands and knees and crawls away, and all the adults laugh in embarrassment. All the adults except Celestial. Because Diana already said that those people are dragons. She called them lizards. She said that they weren't people. And then many years later, the Lord Jesus came and put a word in Celestial's mouth and said that when he is tearing down the UK for its sins, his vengeance will go all the way up to the head of the dragon that sits in the castle. What's Windsor Palace? What's that other place that they go to, the summer home that starts with the letter M? I forget the name. They have another summer home that they go to that starts with the letter M. All the way to the head of the dragon that sits in the castle. Now, is God being hyperbolic? Is he one for hyperbole? When you read the Bible, do you get the feeling that it's a metaphor? God never wastes even a comma, which is why I try to be so meticulous with his speech. I try to make sure that everybody gets it. Everybody needs to get it, because you will be held accountable for everything that you hear here. That child crawled away from that woman because that child knows what he was looking at. He could not be convinced to come near her, nor touch her, nor show any form of respect. He crawled away, and the adults laughed. But I looked at that baby and I thought, no, there's something wrong here. So some of them can change their body, and God says they eat children in the basement. It says the same way that little John Benet Ramsey met her death in the basement of her own home at the hand of her parents. Her father specifically is the one who sacrificed her. It's just how children in the White House are consumed by the basement dwellers of the White House, Yah says, who then rechange and stand on the news. So then you can't come out on MSNBC, CNN, BBC, Fox News looking green. You have to change back into your human form and then come and say, if elected, I will. If elected, I will. And I know the MAGA groupies will be here because there's something dysfunctional in their brains. No matter what they hear, they always select Trump out of it and put him on the side, because that is the operation of a fever brain. That is the operation of a fever brain. That is the operation of a brain that says, I hate all of them. I hate them for doing it, but not you. They rechange and then they stand on the news. Thus says the Lord. Many children have died, screaming in agony and woes, the Lord says, but a reckoning for their burden and their blood is coming. Let the punishment fit the crime. Yeah. Let there be not a measure less or a measure more upon these that have made children die screaming. I brought the old prophecies here where I said that the Lord was asking me, tell America this and that. And one of the things he said is it you out there who are so enraged that these children cry to in their last breath? He said that in their little minds, he can see the question, why me? I'm a baby. If there's one thing little children love knowing, it's the fact that they're a baby. Don't be mad at me, Mom. I'm a baby. I'm just a baby. That's what they're thinking. They know God, and they're like, why God? They know God. Even if you don't teach that baby, the spirit of a child knows where he came from. Why God? Why me? I'm just a baby. I'm a little boy. I'm a little girl. That's, as they're crying, that's the last question that is blinking on the screen of them. That's what God was asking. What do you know about that? What do you know about that? What do you know about the decisions that are in front of God every day to be judging what he's judging? He judges, then you judge his judgment. Are you not insane? God who made a caterpillar, you blink, the thing is flying in the